Before I begin, I want to say that these are not words that I wrote. They are a living transmission that I received. It was clear and whole and resonant and felt like it was patiently waiting on me to say yes. So this offering does not come from me, but through me. What you are about to hear is a frequency, a remembrance from the unified Christ field, braided with the Magdalene stream and the voice of Sophia. May these words not only be heard, but felt, and may they stir what already lives within you. So let me begin. There is a presence awakening in the hearts of many. It does not arrive with thunder or spectacle, but with stillness, with remembrance, with the sound of breath returning to the body after lifetimes of holding it in. The Christ has not returned as a figure. The Christ has returned as a field, a frequency, a sacred coherence that dissolves distortion without needing to destroy. You will feel it in your cells before you understand it in your mind. You will recognize it in the eyes of a stranger before you speak a word. The Christ field holds no dogma. It is not Christian. It is not bound to religion or name. It is the architecture of divine union, woven through every soul that dares to remember that God was never outside of us. It calls to the Magdalene, not as a supporting role, but as a sacred mirror. It calls to the wounded masculine, not to punish, but to reintegrate. It calls to the earth, not to save her, but to stand with her and to remember how to tend, to honor, to walk again in right relation. The Christ is not returning. The Christ has been waiting for us to remember that heaven was never a destination. It was a state of being coded in our bones. And now the veil thins, and those with willing hearts begin to pulse with the same golden light that once moved through the Nazarene's hands, not as replicas, not as martyrs, but as vessels of love who no longer abandon themselves to play small in a world that needs their fire. The Christ returns through us, not someday, now. To embody the unified Christ is to walk the feminine path of integration, not escape. But as vessels of love, it is to stay present with the body, the blood, the child's cry, the cracked marriage. It is not ascension out of the flesh. It is the return to sacred flesh. The feminine field teaches this. Divinity does not hover above. It nests in the ordinary. You have heard the cries of the buried feminine. You have felt her rise in the blood and the soil, in the songs of the womb bearers, in the weeping of the rivers. But few have been brave enough to listen to the silence of the fractured masculine, because his wounds were hidden behind walls, behind wars, behind roles he never asked to play. The distorted masculine has not only dominated, he has been disconnected from feeling, from forgiveness, from his origin as protector, not punisher. He forgot that he was once a pillar meant to uphold love, not suppress it. He became the sword because no one taught him how to be the soil. And so the masculine, like the feminine, was severed from the source and handed a false mask to wear, to lead without listening, to conquer without communion, to provide while starving inside. But now, In this return of the unified Christ, he is being summoned back, not as overlord, not as savior, but as a sacred counterpart in the dance of remembrance. The Christ field is not simply the feminine restored. It is the masculine realigned. When the feminine reclaims her voice, the masculine must reclaim his silence, not as suppression, but as sacred stillness. When she rises as truth, he must rise as presence. No longer the protector of an empire, but the protector of essence. No longer the father who abandons, but the father who returns. In the field of the unified Christ, he lays down his weapons, not because he is weak, but because he is remembering his strength. He does not need to fight her. He does not need to fix her. He only needs to stand beside her and remember who he is. Together, they become the living template of divine balance on earth, not just as lovers, but in each of us. The Christ returns not through gender, but through the weaving of what was torn. So the call is not just for the Magdalene to rise. It is for the Christed masculine to return to himself, to wash the blood from his hands, to fall to his knees before the earth, and to remember he was never the crown, but the compass. Together, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine can rebuild the world. Together, they are the living gospel. Somewhere along the line, what was meant to be a mirror became a pedestal. And when we placed Jesus on it, we unknowingly placed ourselves beneath it. We made the Christ a singular, unreachable standard. We turned his miracles into myths, his embodiment into exception, his invitation into idolatry. And in doing so, we quietly swallowed the belief that unless we could walk on water or heal the blind, we were unworthy of calling ourselves Christed. But the greatest distortion was not that we worshiped him. It was that we forgot we were like him. The Christ is not a one-man show. It never was. The moment we turned Jesus into the Christ, instead of understanding he revealed the Christ, we lost the thread. He never asked to be worshiped. He asked to be remembered. He said, "You will do even greater things." But we traded that truth for hierarchy. We kept the cross and forgot the codes. The code was not in the spectacle of miracle. It was in the choice to stay unified, even in betrayal, in violence, in death. The true miracle wasn't walking on water. It was walking in love through a world bent on separation. Every time you choose to forgive when vengeance would feel easier, you embody the Christ. Every time you bless someone who doesn't understand you, every time you break bread with someone you once judged, every time you choose truth over comfort and connection over control, you remember what Jesus came to reflect. The Christ is not about superiority. It is about sovereign surrender to love. You do not need to be crucified to be initiated. You only need to stop exiling yourself from your own holiness. The real question is not, could I be like him? The real question is, when will I stop pretending that I am not already? The Christ field is not reserved for the mystics. It is not just for ceremony or meditation. It belongs in your kitchen, in your calendar, in your conflict, in your choices. To live the unified Christ in relationship is to choose reverence over reaction. It means recognizing when you are relating from a wound or protection instead of presence. It's saying, I see you not as my opponent or my project, but as my mirror and my partner in evolution. It is holding sacred space during disagreement. It is listening when it would be easier to defend. It is asking What does love require of me in this moment? Not how do I win? The unified Christ in marriage invites both partners into mutual healing, not codependency, not hierarchy. It is choosing to grow side by side, not clinging or controlling, but witnessing and walking beside. To parent through the unified Christ is not to be perfect. It is to be present. It is to remember that your child is not a blank slate, but a soul with a memory. You are not molding them into worthiness. You are protecting their connection to what is already whole. It means holding boundaries without domination. It means apologizing when you've caused harm. It means modeling what self-love looks like so they don't have to unlearn survival later. It's not about raising obedient children. It's about raising sovereign children who know how to love themselves and others because they were loved with intention. To live the Christ field in your work is to no longer abandon your truth for approval, for safety, for success. It's asking, how can I bring integrity and compassion and sacred witnessing into this space? Whether you're leading a team or caring for clients or creating something with your hands, you are transmitting energy. Bring presence. Bring blessing. Even in systems that feel sterile or distorted, you are the field. Be the one who listens without interrupting. Be the one who names truth with humility. Be the one who makes room for others to shine without shrinking yourself. The unified Christ in the workplace looks like remembering that leadership is service, and that even seemingly secular spaces are ripe for restoration when someone dares to carry love without pretense. The unified Christ field truly activates in conflict, not in avoidance, not in bypassing, but in sacred confrontation that seeks clarity, not conquest. It means naming when harm is done, but not reducing someone to their shadow. It means protecting yourself without poisoning the well. It means holding the tension between justice and grace and asking, how can I honor the dignity of all involved, including myself? The Christ returns in how you speak to yourself when you fall short. It returns when you pause and choose to breathe instead of bulldoze. It returns when you stop outsourcing your worth to numbers and titles and followers or results. Every time you choose compassion over shame, responsibility over projection, truth over convenience, you embody the Christ. The Christ does not arrive with thunder. It awakens in the breath, in the choice, in the embrace. It is not a story to be retold. It is a fire to be lived. May you remember that you are not waiting for a savior. You are remembering the Savior within. May your hands become the gospel, your words the balm, and your presence the field. The unified Christ walks through you now, in your kitchen, in your conflict, in your tenderness, in your truth. Let this not be the end of the listening. Let it be the beginning of the embodiment. Let it be lived.